So these are just identifying some common startup mistakes. By no means is this a comprehensive list, but these are just some of the things that relevantly come up frequently. And it really stems from the lack of information, a lack of planning, not fully understanding your market or who your customer is, or moving too quickly. Okay. Let me ask a question. Everybody's familiar with Time magazine, right? Time magazine, who would you say are Time magazine's customers? Anybody?
Business people.
Say it again?
Business people.
What kind of business people?
Bank sites.
How so?
Wall Street sites.
For what purpose? Wall Street type. Okay. And that's fine. Anybody else?
Yes.
Kevin?
The advertisers.
The advertisers. Right?
Yes.
Yes. So, Time magazine goes through all their editorials, their reviews, their articles, but really their customer is who pays the bills. It's the advertisers. Okay? So you may be looking to provide a product or a service to a group or to a target individual, but are they the ones who are ultimately writing the checks? Are they the ones that are ultimately recognizing the value in what it is that you're doing, okay, to keep you in business? So it's not always clear, and the only way to really identify it is by taking the time to do the necessary research and then test the feasibility against what it is that you want to do. Okay. So how do we go about gathering information, and what type of information do we need to gather? Well, there's the personal information. Right? This is information about yourself and about the resources that you have. Recognizing your limits. If you work a full-time job, you can't go out and beat the streets during the day and put in 80 hours a week and expect... I mean, look, my wife's a school teacher and I know the hours that she keeps. Right? But seriously, there has to be an outlet. There has to be an outlet, and you have to be realistic about that. What is it that you ultimately want to do? Are you looking to go in business so that 7 days a week, that's all that you're doing? Because if that's what you love to do and that's what drives you, then God bless you for finding that, because that will carry you through. If you have a family, if you have other things that are as equally important, these are things you need to factor in. So when you're looking to identify information about yourself, you really have to be realistic about what you can do, okay, and what your limits are. The other thing is your customer information. Right? So we just kind of gave an example about Time magazine, identifying their advertisers being their primary customers. So who will buy, use your product, your service, and why? Okay? And ultimately, where can you find these customers? How do you reach them? And then important is the market information, competition, access to markets, okay? And the P's of marketing: product, price, place, promotion, and people. Right? So these are all things that you need to collect information about. Whether you're just getting started, whether you've been in business for 20 years and you're looking to expand. I had a gentleman who's in a home inspection business. Given, and as you mentioned, kind of given the decline in the real estate market and the number of foreclosures still on the rise, home inspection business has been down. So looking at alternative ways, you already have the relationships, you kind of have the ins with the real estate developers in the area, okay, the realtors. So how do you go about expanding that? So very interesting idea is, what's one of the largest problems now in the Northeast as far as pests in the home? Is anybody?
Bed bugs.
Exactly, right? So being able to leverage the resources you have and maybe identify another way about accessing revenue. Okay. So it's really saying, what can the market take? What is going on? And this information is as important to the startup as it is to the person who's been in business for 20 years. So these are some research questions to address. So as you're beginning to look and to test and to look at the feasibility plan, what are some of the questions that you really need to start looking at? Right? So what features and benefits are customers seeking? What are people paying for? Where is the value that people are looking to get from your service and or product? Okay? what does the industry look like? It's not now, you have to look at larger trends. We are unique in the sense of the demographics, the metropolitan area that we exist in. However, there is precedent, because things are cyclical. And it's really the ability to identify, adapt, and overcome that really define us as entrepreneurs and as small business owners moving forward to continue to grow. Who is doing what you are doing? Competition. Competition is not bad. I had a cafe, as I mentioned, in Caldwell. Nobody really does coffee and tea. And anybody who's been kind of in the restaurant business know that it's a volume-based business. It's based heavily on foot traffic. Okay? What are one of the main things that you're looking to provide in a coffee, tea, kind of slow food area? It's comfort, right? You want somebody to go in there, atmosphere, right? You want somebody to be able to go in there, spend as long as they want, and they feel comfortable. But what if they're taking up space and they buy one cup of coffee for 75 cents and they're there for 4 hours? Okay? So, when we did, we started to do a lot of advertising, we started to do a lot of mixed use of space, we brought in artists and musicians and really tried to get the community involved. And things started to pick up. So what happens? A chain recognizes what's going on in our downtown area and decides to move in. And a lot of people were coming to us and saying, well, it's going to put you out of business, it's going to do this, and say, no, it's not. Competition is one of the largest sources of flattery. It just means that we're doing the right thing, for one, and two, we need to work harder to identify how to continue to maintain ourselves in that market. But they were doing things differently than us, and in some cases better than us. And so being able to see what it is they're doing, to be able to adapt, again, bringing in that feasibility process, is this something that I can do? Do I want to try to match them in what they're trying to do, or am I really trying to excel in what they don't do, or what I perceive that they don't do? Okay? So looking at your competition, who is doing what you're doing? Who will buy your product and service? Again, identifying your customer. How do you convince customers to buy from you? Given your competition, what makes you different? Coming back to that feasibility question. What makes you different? Why am I going to go and utilize your services as opposed to somebody else's? Showing that value. All right. Now, how much will they pay for it? Now that's a tricky question, and it's a loaded question. Because price a lot of time is dictated by market. It's dictated by the area that you're in. It's dictated by the resources that you're utilizing. Right? But at the same time, you have to be able to be flexible and to adjust. Really identify, this comes into, are you identifying who your customers are? Are you truly identifying what the value is to then be able to attach? What information do you have, or what precedent is there to back up the prices that you're doing? That's what really this question is asking. Say I'm going to charge $75 an hour for my service. Well, what does that mean? And why should I pay you that much money? Now, I have my expertise and I know what it is that I'm doing, but what is really the market demanding? So, getting out there and seeing how much are people paying for the types of products and services you're looking to provide. Okay? And ultimately, how profitable is the business that you're looking to get into? This comes back to identifying the needs. This comes back to identifying the market. So this is kind of a culminating question. Okay? How profitable is the business and industry that you're looking at getting into? Because you have to be realistic. If you're getting into an industry or looking to expand to tap into a market that is a little bit different than where you are, you have to be realistic and say, is this the type of market, is this the type of business that I can literally see a six-figure revenue stream from? Or is this something that I'm only going to be able to see a smaller amount, but it's a consistent amount? Right? So identifying the feasibility and reality of the profitability of the business that you're trying to get into. And this is all kind of found through research.